So, in the creative process, at some point, everybody wants to create a film. They want to write a script. They want to make their own masterpiece. At what point, how many years ago, months ago, did you have the epiphany? This subject matter would be really cool to make a film about. When was that aha moment?
For this film, or just in general, embarking on being a filmmaker and a director writer? Is it?
Actually, let's start with that question. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When did you see that you wanted to express yourself creatively in the arts?
Well, I came out to LA 4 years ago, just about. I originally came here for stunt work and a little bit of acting and stuff, and that was originally what I was trying to get into. So I'd say that was in 2012, so around 2011. Well, actually, no, I'll back up. I would say I graduated college in 2010. Yeah, 2010. And when I was graduating college, I always wanted to come out here. The timing wasn't right to come out to Hollywood and LA to do this, anything out here. But eventually I came out here in 2012. But I would say 2010 is when I was thinking about wanting to do stuff in the entertainment industry in Hollywood. Yeah, it was in 2010. I finally made the leap and came out here in 2012. I did stunt work and tried a little acting for the first year. I was getting some work. I did some stuff in acting and got a little bit of, booked a role here and there on I got a feature and a short and stuff, it was small stuff. But it wasn't until later I got more interested in filmmaking. It was something I always wanted to explore and trying a film school or film class and doing, learning how to write, produce and direct. There's always been something interesting. So I was like, well, why not just look into making my own stuff, making my own short films, and seeing if I like that. And I've always been interested in that other side of the business, not just acting. Because a lot of people come to Hollywood and they're like, well, I'm just come here to act. And that's what they focus on, just that. And I was like, what about directing? That sounds interesting, and filmmaking. So I actually took a class for about a year, a school at a trade center in East LA, focused on directing and writing and filmmaking in general. And I ended up loving it. And I did a short film in there, one or two of them, and then I got out of there and I started doing my own short films. And then I just kept building from there. And I went to some film festivals with one of the shorts and got an award for one of them. And then I just fell in love with it. I was just hooked. I'd say after my first short, I just got hooked on it with that. And then as I started writing full feature scripts, I just started reading lots and tons of screenplays, and that's kind of how I learned that. And then I just started making my own stuff, and I kind of learned directing and stuff through there and from the class. But I started doing that, and then I just kept building from there, got hooked on it, and then I started writing this feature film. I met with a distributor, and he told me, he's like, you should, if you want a resume or a track record as a feature film director and working up to bigger budget movies and stuff, start out small and build up from there. So I wrote this screenplay, The Mason Brothers, and it was an affordable budget, so I wrote that, and it's all shot in LA. It's a heist movie. It appeals to a lot of people. I think it's everyone loves a heist movie. So, like I said before in my other interview, it's a throwback. I wanted to write and make a throwback LA heist movie. It's been a while since that's been done. Since I'd say Heat, Reservoir Dogs, The Untouchables. That's lots more. Most of a gangster movie, but still. Drive by Nicholas Winding Refn. That's kind of a heist movie technically. It's about a getaway driver and stuff. But it's been a while since that's been done, based in LA. And I've always wanted to write one of those, and it was something affordable I knew I could do, not off this crazy budget. With some of these studio movies are $20 million or something ridiculous. So I started writing this. I wrote it in maybe a month. Did a little outlining before, but I wrote it in about a month. Had the idea in my mind for a while. And then, I just started pre-production on it. And I knew some locations in LA I could do it at. I just put it together. And, now I'm here. I just fell in love with it. So.
Okay. In the writing process, what were some of the challenges that you found developing your story? And how did you go about overcoming those challenges?
Well, I knew, when you write any script, you have to take into account, obviously, depending on what your budget is. If you don't have the budget for to do like explosions and stuff. Obviously, you can't put certain things in the script. You have to do based off of the budget. But I did have to revise it. I had to revise it a couple of times. There was, for location reasons, one of the locations fell through, so I had to revise a little bit based on the location. Based on that and based on what was in my disposal. But I'm pretty lucky and fortunate because Hollywood, you have everything here at your disposal when it comes to movie making. You have the best prop houses, armors for like gun shooting, and anything you want is here in LA. But I mean, I did have to revise it before the location. One of them fell through, and some of the acting stuff. I added some characters. Yeah, but I mean, it was actually the script I wrote originally for this was pretty. It didn't change a ton from what it was originally to where I revised it. I mean, the script was always being revised all the way up to the day of shooting, and that's what they say with a lot of scripts, feature-length scripts. You're always revising the script. You improv stuff happens. But I knew coming into this, because I talked to a distributor and told me, he's like, hey, you can do a film, build a track record, and you don't have to do this enormous budget if you write it a certain way. So I had that idea already in my mind. So I didn't go like berserk in like writing the screenplay to where it was just like all this special effects and explosions and stuff. So I knew going into it when I wrote it that, okay, this is gonna cost this much if I put this in there. So I was very careful about what I wrote in there, that I didn't go like way over putting all his actions, too much stuff, anything in there. But anyways, so yeah, I did revise it a little bit, but it wasn't, there were some challenges to overcome with that, but it wasn't a whole lot.
So after the writing process comes pitching a film. Now, one of the things that's most important about any film that is being made, every film has to answer this question: why should the viewer care? And that is a question everyone has to answer when they pitch a film to a distributor, to a funder. So the first part of this question is, why should the viewer care? And the second part is, how was the pitching process for you in finding the funding to get this film off the ground? Considering that in the past you have done films before, but they were shorts, but now you're moving into the features realm. So what was that process like for you, and why should the viewer care?
Okay, let's start with the first question. What was the first question again? Because you asked her.
Viewer care?
Okay, about this film in general.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like I said before, this movie's a throwback LA heist movie. That's something I wanted to write. It's always been, that's kind of my movies are very dark. All my short films, if people have seen them, whoever has seen them, they're very dark. I don't want to compare them to certain movies because I don't want people to go into this thinking, oh, it's going to be like this or something like that. But I want to write a throwback LA heist movie, and that always, people love that. People love heist movies. I don't know many people who don't love them. It's a genre that's something that I love. They're great stories. A lot of them are action packed, or a lot of dramas, or thrillers. What really, a heist movie is a thriller. Is really what it is. Most people love them. It's such a genre I love, and that's something I've always wanted to do because I love that type of genre, and that's the story I want to tell because I love those types of stories. So, like I said, there's been Drive, and we Drive, Nick's wanting to reference that, and Untouchables, Heat. Those are great. All those movies have been very successful, and people love those movies, and I love those movies, and I've always wanted to do a movie like that. And I thought, well, for a first feature film, that'd be a great movie to do. Throwback LA heist movie, shot right here in LA. It's not, it's not shot on sound stages or anything. It's all shot on location, at real locations. So people, when they watch the movie, I want them, it feels and looks like LA when they watch it. You'll see it and it's like, okay, this is LA. So I want people to see that. I live here in LA, so it's no better place to shoot. It's based in LA. So anyways, those movies in the past I mentioned, Drive and Untouchables, Heat, Reservoir Dogs, they've all been successful. I love that genre. I want to do one of those stories. So what was the next question after that?
The next question is, what was your experience like shopping your film around to get funding for your film?
Well, I think with any film, it's always a challenge getting money or raising money for a film. However, I have to kind of thank, I'm not going to mention his name, but the distributor I talked to prior to even writing this movie told me the advice. He said, don't write a huge, enormous budget movie Because for a first feature film, if as a first feature film director, if that's what you want to do, making this enormous budget is not a good idea, because it's very hard to raise money for something like, because you haven't done anything really. Even if you've done short films, it doesn't count. Going from short films to feature films is like going from college football to the NFL. It's two different arenas. So I had investors for the film what were interested, and that I know personally, and they were interested in the story. And like I said, most people love heist movies. I love them. So, and also the answer to the second part of that question, and like I said before in another interview, that betrayal, is a story really about betrayal and revenge, and that's something a lot of people can relate to, because most people have been double-crossed, betrayed. Most people have been betrayed or double-crossed in life, and that's what this story is really about. That's what it's really about, and that's something everyone can relate to, because most people have been betrayed or double-crossed. It's just how they react to it. Are you gonna go seek revenge on those people, or are you gonna let it go? What are you gonna do? So that's something most people can relate to. So that's why I think this story can appeal to people based on that, and it's a heist movie. So who doesn't love a heist movie? I love them. Everyone loves them, but that's subjective. Still.
What was the most exciting part about the ramp up leading to the first day of production? And what was that first day of production like? Did you have the nervous jitters? Were you all composed and ready to go? Did you know what you were doing? Or did you have doubts about things you were doing, and you just put on a facade of, you know what, let's work this out. We're gonna make it look like I know what I'm doing. It's fine. Just give me an honest answer. Forget that we're here.
Of course, first feature, you don't know what you're getting into. You don't know. You don't know what's gonna happen. You know if you're gonna finish the shoot on time, which luckily I say we shot the whole thing in 12 days on schedule as planned, and we got more stuff that we actually wanted than planned. But I'm very thankful for that. But no, I didn't know what I was really getting into. I just kind of I had this idea. I always wanted to do a feature film. I want to be a feature film director and a writer, and I just dove into it. It was like, whatever happens, happens. It's almost comparable to kind of like professional sports, like boxing. And I've heard boxers even say, all you know you can do is train as hard as you can for the fight, and that's considered to it's comparable to pre-production. Prepare as much as you can, and when it gets to the actual fight, some of it's beyond your control. You prepare as much as possible, and whatever happens, happens. You go in there with a good attitude, and you just go for it. That's kind of like how I saw this. I was like, well, is this something I want to do? And I'm going to make it happen. So I'm going to go for it. I'm not going to take no for an answer. So I just made it happen. Just went to it. And the first day I was, of course, nervous, because I didn't know. I've never shot something more than, my last short film was 3 days of shooting. So I've never shot anything over 3 days. And we did, I think this movie had, the script had 45 scenes, but we had, I think total, because we added somewhere like 50 around there. So that's a lot of scenes. And of course, I was a little anxious about that, because I don't know, most feature films, it just depends. They'll spread it out over a month, depending on, this is a 90-page script. So some people will do it in a month or less, just depending on what's in the script. So we're doing about 7 to 8 pages a day. And of course, it was a concern, are we going to finish on time? But we came with a plan, okay, we should be able to do this in 12 days, and I just kind of went for it. We just said, all right, we'll make sure that the crew is on track and acting, so we finish every day on time. So that was after the second day. I think I felt after that, I was all right, I think we're good, because I knew after the second day we were in a rhythm, and we were finishing things on schedule. So I think, it was cool by then.
Okay, so the next question then would be about so working on a medium-sized crew where you have about 14 or 15 different moving parts, where each moving part is as important as the next. Camera department is important as sound, as important as lighting, as important as acting, as important as makeup, as important as craft service, because if the crew doesn't eat, everyone's cranky.
Right.
So every department is important. How important was it for you when it came to delegating out tasks and the trust that you had in the people who you delegated out specific tasks to? And what was your satisfaction or dissatisfaction with how the tasks were delegated out and how the delegated tasks were carried out?
Well, everyone did a great job. And like I see this as considerable to a football team or a sports team. It's the same thing, really. And I played sports growing up as a kid, so like a full team, you have your quarterback, offensive lineman, you have all the parts, tight ends, linebackers, everyone. If everyone doesn't do their part, you're gonna lose. And I saw that, even and that goes from pre-production to production to post-production. If everybody doesn't do their part, it's gonna collapse, just like any football team or anything. And that wasn't something I was to make sure it was not gonna happen. But I hired good people, what were very talented and disciplined, and good people who had experience as far as crew members and actors, that I didn't feel like I really had to worry too much about that. So, I made sure everyone, along with the ADA and the producer, I made sure with my assistant director, Tatiana, myself, Dave Trevino, the one producing with me, that, we made sure that everyone was doing their job and we were finishing things on a timely manner, and everyone did. We didn't have to worry too much about that. So, like I said, if someone doesn't do their part, then the whole team can collapse. So that didn't happen, which means we accomplished what we wanted to. So I was very pleased with everyone because we accomplished what we wanted to. In pre-production, production, I'm now in post-production, and that's another challenge, but I'll get through that too. So with my team, because I have a good team around me.
All right. So now this next question is about how did you deal with challenges both external and internal? And I'll explain further. So some challenges might be differences in creative direction from other influencing sources, whether it be someone from the camera department or an actor who wants to broach a different way about carrying out their scene. Mm-hmm. Now, the story that you have was something that has been your baby for the better part of a year. So what was your experience like having mulled over your own story for many months and then having external sources of creativity coming in and influencing the final outcome for how each scene was acted out or shot?
Right. That's a good question, because actually, even from day one when I finished the script, from all through pre-production, through production, and now in the post-production, people are voicing their opinions on how you should do this, do that, how this scene should be done or done. And I have the vision on how I wrote it, but also I'm listening to other people's opinions too, which I value too. Like I said, I have a really good team that I trust, and I take into account what they say too. So I have to kind of listen to what they say and then think about it and say, okay, well, would that work for the scene based on what I wrote, or in general, or say my DP says, let's shoot it like this because of this reason. It might change what you thought, but it'll be better. So I take that into account, and it's like, okay, let's roll with that then. Definitely. And so I take that into account. Or the actor says, I saw this character play like this, maybe not the way you saw it, but I listen to what they say, and I'm like, yeah, let's try it. And if I like it, let's stick with that. And then they'll do it. And yeah, there's been a lot of times that's happened on the set, and then we stuck with it. But nothing's ever set in stone. You should always be open-minded to anything that you make or create or write. So, because it could make a better product, but you shouldn't be too attached to something. That's why, actually, I'm not. I've edited a lot of my short films. My last short film, my editor Gio Arias did a great job on that, editing this feature. Because I don't want to be involved in. You should always. People see it different ways, but it's good to have somebody else edit. You can guide them, but it's good that they can take their creative way and see how that should be edited together versus just you taking the whole thing from start to finish, because it might be a better product the way they see it or general, instead of you just saying, okay, I'm gonna edit the whole thing, because it might not be that great. People might like it a different way.
So out of all the 48 to 55 scenes that we did, can you remember, you don't have to give details that would spoil it, but can you remember a scene or an experience you had where once you ended the scene, you left the set giddy and you're like, fuck yeah, this is gonna be good, this is gonna be good. Like, yeah, I love that. Yeah, that was good.
That's a good question, because I felt that in a lot of scenes here. I really did. There's a lot, like I said, the acting here is phenomenal, great talent, great crew. There's a handful of scenes. Do you want me to name the scene, or do you mean which scene specifically, or you're talking about have I felt that?
give the vaguest example of
Okay,
had
yeah.
we had an interaction
Right.
post heist and whatever.
There was a couple scenes. There's a lot of scenes actually. I felt that when I'm really excited for people to see because it's gonna grab people's attention really quick. Beginning of the movie, middle, end. I don't want to ruin where it's at. There's places throughout the whole movie where there's very, very intense scenes. There was a couple where I'd walk out and I was like, whoa, that's really good. I watched playback off of it, and DP did a great job with the camera and stuff, and the acting was phenomenal. I was like, wow, that's gonna look really, really good when it's edited and put together. And I can't wait for people's reactions on that because it was really, really, really intense, and it's a nail biter. People are gonna look at that. I would say there was probably 2 or 3 where I walked away and I was like, it's a pretty crazy scene, an intense scene. It's gonna be very interesting to see how that turns out and how people react to it, and to see what people's not just reactions, but how they're talking about it afterwards, because they're gonna look at it and probably be in awe. But I don't want to ruin anything, so I'm not gonna say anything further than that.
So, how are you going to approach showing this film to the world? Are you doing the festival circuit, or are you forewarning it in a theater, or how else? After you're in the theater, are you going to go to VOD?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going about?
So I already have distribution for the movie. Basically, as long as I complete the movie, it's gonna get distributed. I'm already under contract that it will be distributed. My goal with the film, I want to do a small or a select theatrical release for the movie, and also festivals, a little bit of both, but mainly more like a small theatrical release in LA and maybe like New York or bigger cities, and then some festivals. We'll see what happens. I don't know if people might love it, and maybe people want to screen it at a lot of other festivals. Who knows? But my goal right now is a small theatrical release, some festivals, and then honestly, I have distribution. So, whoever picks it up, whoever we get deals with, whoever the distributor I'm working with, whoever they get deals with, like vendors and stuff, like Redbox, Amazon, iTunes. That's what I would like, obviously, and they should. Hopefully, we'll get that. It's one of those, or there's one that have Netflix. There's so many now online. There's like Google has it, YouTube, obviously Amazon, iTunes. I go on there myself, so those are my goals to get those. Hopefully, we'll get deals with them, and so it'll be for people who want to watch it. They can go online. People want to watch it. They can go online and watch it. It should be online. And obviously, Redbox, Netflix. We'll see what happens. Which vendors.
Looking into the future, what type of film do you see yourself doing next? And where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Sorry, back up again. What was I missed one of the parts of it.
What type of film do you see yourself making next?
Mm-hmm.
And where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
I have a slew or list of screenplays. Well, a couple I've already written, feature-length screenplays that are done, copyrighted. Done what I would like to do. They're a little bigger budget, so we'll see about those. But there's another movie I want to do immediately after this one called The Refuge. Just real briefly about that. I don't want to talk too much about that. It's just it's about these different converging characters that are completely separate, but they all share one thing. They're all these sinners and murderers and these outlaws. All their paths converge together to one area. That I think would be really interesting. That I want to do here in LA. That's something I want to do. That's probably my next project. And then my film that I want to do, what I've been wanting to do for a long time, for a couple years now, is Suitcase City, feature-length film of that. If I could do that as the next one, that'd be great. We'll see, but that's gonna be a little bigger budget movie. I see myself in 5 years hopefully doing that one. That's what my goal is, to do that within 5 years. So I have The Refuge, Suitcase City. I'd like to do with both of those within 5 years, or at least Suitcase City within 5 years. I want to get that one in. That's the film that I want the most, that I love the script the most, and I think it'd be great. So,
director-wise, who are some of your inspirations?
That's a good question.
Cinematography-wise, who are some of your inspirations?
Well, first I'll start with Nicholas Winding Refn. I give my hats off to that guy. I don't know if I've seen better cinematography in any film. Drive's one of my favorite movies. Only God Forgives is one of my favorite movies. The cinematography for that, the cinematographer who works on that, actually, I don't know his name, but he's phenomenal. I think it's the same one for both of those movies. Nicholas Winding Refn is probably my favorite director. I love his style. He takes his shot angles and shot lists and the lighting, music, everything he puts into his films is a complete film. It's a great artistic movie. Looks fantastic. I've never seen a better movie than probably Drive, or just about as a whole movie in general, with music, lighting, cinematography. That's, he's definitely, that's probably my favorite director. And then his movies, obviously, and the cinematography from him are my favorite as well. And that's a huge part of his movies. If you watch him, his cinematography, he does a lot of dolly in, dolly out shots, tracking shots. It's a lot of moving shots, and then a lot of unique shots I've never seen before. And it makes it a very unique movie with the music and the lighting. And I do love that. I do implement some stuff off of that, but I don't want to spoil too much. I have to watch the movie, but yeah, he's one of them. Now, obviously, there's other people. I mean, Chris Nolan's great with the films he's done, and actually a lot of the screenplays I write, kind of leading off of that, are non-linear. This movie, which I didn't mention yet, is it's written non-linear, non-chronological. The story's broken up into pieces, and it goes back in time, back and forth in time throughout the whole movie, which I think people, well, hopefully they won't be confused, but it creates more intrigue and mystery and what's going to happen next, and they trying to put the puzzle together, kind of like Inception, Memento. So Chris Nolan's great. He's a great director. I see he writes a lot of stuff like that. I like that type of writing. All my stories I write, majority of them like that, except for I wrote Suitcase City. It's not like that. It's just chronological, but yeah. But he's a good director as well. But I'd say Nicholas Winding Refn, number one, definitely. And the cinematographer for that is great.